I am. Hello. Good to see you. Hey, everyone.
Hi, I'm so glad that you're able to join us all the way from Tennessee. And,
Yes.
I just wanted to also share that she is one of my amazing family members. When I first came here in the U.S., in California, we got to meet our family members, and she was one of the best ones that we connected with. Although she had to move on the East Coast because of military, I still love her a lot.
Yes, for
So,
sure.
so Elena, why don't we just dive in and just for since you, I know you believe in the Lord. So was there a time when you before you knew Jesus, or what was that story like in your life?
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have a story of not knowing Jesus and then finding Jesus. My narrative was more of a just an ebb and flow of knowing him more fully, because I was always aware, even as a child. We didn't go to church regularly as a child, but we went. I was always aware of God, of Jesus, of the Bible, of what I should be doing, how to live a holy life. But there were times when we went in and out of that. And I remember when I was about 16, 17, and I started going to church with my friends. So I would go to different denominations and different church settings, and I was getting more curious as someone who was separate from my parents. My parents are finding their spirituality, and then here I am trying to figure out, well, what do I believe? What do I think? And so I think those conversations started to happen around that age. When I moved out of the house, grew up and moved away from my parents, I started to continue to explore that more. So I had some moments in my life, I remember during those times, that were pretty hard. Just the ebbs and flow of life, of wondering a lot of, who am I? What am I? Why am I? So why am I this? Why am I that? Why is this happening to me? Why is that? And I knew those questions could be answered with Jesus, but I was trying to figure out how to get there. And so it took a journey. As I remember in my 20s, it took a long journey of me going to having some unfortunate situations happen in church settings that made me say, you know what? I don't need to be in church. I love Jesus. Jesus is in my heart. I don't need to be in church. To still having this burning desire of wanting to know him more fully, and really kind of being jealous of when I see other people who are like, I'm on my way to church, and oh my gosh, we do all these fun things and all of that. And I was like, man, I really want that. And so I was in this dichotomy of like, I'm spiritual, not religious, and I'm trying to find Jesus, and I don't know how to find you. And it was all over the place. I was all over the place. But I remember feeling led to join a church, and joining a church that really spoke to what I needed at the time. And so the people were very life-giving. The teachings were very simple to understand and easy to grab. I felt like home there, and it was very welcoming. And that was where I really started to explore what it meant to be a follower of Jesus and what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus. I remember just my life being changed, in that I felt like I had found what I was looking for. All these years of being in the ebbs and flow of trying to figure out what that looked like, to this is where I can be planted, this is where I can grow. And so that translated into me doing more relationship building with Jesus at home, and asking questions, and learning how to pray differently, learning how to be in the spirit, learning how to be a kingdom citizen versus being a citizen here on earth. Just all of the things that led me closer to Jesus. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. And still ebbs and flows of me trying to figure out life, as any person is doing, but definitely in a place of feeling secure in my relationship with Jesus.
Praise God. I love that. And I know you wrote a book.
Yes.
And that was just amazing to have one of my family members. I was like, oh my gosh, she's an author. So tell us a little bit about, behind of why you written that book.
Yeah, I wrote the book at a time when I would say I was in a dark place. Honestly, I was in a place where I was waiting on God's promises, and waiting for God's promises to come to pass. Really, God had put promises in my heart, and I knew that they were for me. I knew that they would come, but they weren't here yet. And I said, well, how do I deal with that? And how do people deal with that? And so I always knew, even as a child, I always knew I would be a writer. I always knew that. I didn't know how that would manifest. So to have it manifest in this way was actually all God breathed. He was at work the whole time. But I decided to write this book to help other people who may be in a similar situation to me, of trying to figure out the answer to the question of what do you do while you're waiting on God's promises, and what does that mean? Because it's not about us just sitting still and just waiting, just like passing time and just waiting for like the clock to turn to midnight and then do it again the next day and the next, we actually should be doing faith with works. And so what does that mean? And what's the balance between that and not moving ahead of God? Because that can also be a thing where we say, well, I'll just try to make this happen myself. And God said, no, let me do it. And so all of those questions that I had and that I was wondering, I put into a book. The book is a study and devotion of Psalms 119. And so I went through the entire chapter of 119, and really during the entire journey of that, I realized, oh my gosh, this is healing for me. I'm doing this to help other people, but I'm doing this at a time where the promises still haven't come to pass. Besides the promise of me writing this book, these promises haven't come to pass yet. So I'm writing and getting my own healing from the words that God is breathing into me to put into this book.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That is amazing. You just reminded me about that scripture, faith without works is dead. And yes. It's so true, because we do have to put it into action. But knowing that He will be there and just supply, it's so amazing to know that. And so I wanted to know, so what is your journey like now? I know you got a new family, so share about that.
Yes, I do. Well, it's very interesting because those are some of the promises. The Lord spoke to me and said that my husband would be my husband. He spoke that 8 years before it actually happened. And so while I was waiting for that to come to pass and figuring out what does that mean and all of that, I went on this journey of drawing closer to God. And so in 2020, me and my husband got married, and now husband got married, and October of 2020. And so living that life of a fulfilled promise has been a journey, and has been glorious, and has been right. There's a sense of peace that comes with that. And so we have been enjoying doing life together. And we recently had a baby girl in December of this past year, December 15th. And so she was also a promise that the Lord had spoken to both of us. And so a miracle baby. Here she is. And so we have been spending our time just loving on her and enjoying her and just speaking life over her as we embark on just what it's like now to have a newborn and a child. So we're doing that. We're also starting we have an online ministry that we do, Relationships Without Walls, on all of the platforms, Facebook and all of the others, where we minister and encourage others who are single, dating, newly married, all different relationships of life, familial relationships at work, just talking about all of those things as we have learned and grown, and just, having God speak into us about what to do in those situations. We are paying it forward and giving that to others. And so that has been a blessing that we've started since last year. And now we are also working on building a faith community in our hometown here in Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, the promises that God is just bringing forth. It's all manifesting, right?
Yes. In His timing, which is the most important thing, is understanding His timing is perfect. And so it makes me think of Amos 9:13, which is when I used to speak over my life for years, before the promises came to pass, which was the time will soon come where the grains and grapes will grow faster than they can be harvested. And I really feel like that's the season that we have been in, which has been a blessing. That the blessings, the miracles, the promises have come to pass one after the other because of choosing to wait on God, which has not been easy. Let me say, it has not been easy, but God is faithful.
Woo, I love that. It's just being reminded that when we are faithless, He's faithful. So He's so good. And that's one of the things that I love hearing so many women's stories, because it is His promises, and it's just their testimony and their walk of faith with Him. So thank you so much for sharing that. It has just been a blessing to hear your story and to see you again.
Of course, yes, always a pleasure.
Yeah, I wanted to just ask you, your daughter's name is so beautiful. Can you share why you chose that name?
Yes, her first name is Selah, and it comes from the book of Psalms. You'll see it a lot as a holy pause. Much of Psalms, as we know, is worship and worship music, and so many times people refer to Selah as a term that is used in worship, to pause, to be still, and also to worship the Lord. And so we considered that to be her and wanted to speak that over her life as soon as she was born. So we named her Selah. And her middle name is Asa. Asa comes from the book of Kings. Asa was one of the kings who was a healer, and Asa means healer. And so Asa was one who restored the land and brought people back to God and back to faithfulness. And so we speak that over her life as well as we call her name out, just as being a healer.
That is so amazing. That part I didn't know, but woo, wow. All in just God's beautiful, just His creation. Thank you so much for being on the call, and it's just a pleasure just having you share with your amazing testimony. Wow, I'm just in awe because the things I don't know. So thank you guys for tuning in. So we'll have another one coming up next. So thank you for tuning in with Kingdom Global Ministry, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
God bless you.